Hey, Jim, just your thoughts on the two contracts you've announced here this week with Thatcher Demko and Tanner Pearson being locked up by your organization.
Yeah, well, we're real excited, to get both players signed. Thatcher Demko, he's been a guy that we've drafted him. We've developed him, I think, properly. We've been careful every step of the way. We got him up here in Vancouver. We've, made sure that he was, surrounded by an experienced goalie. And then when he's been ready to kind of take over as the guy, he's kind of shown us that this year, and he's done that. So we're excited to get him, signed for the next 5 years. We expect, his development to keep getting better and better, and he's had an excellent season for us so far. So we're excited about that signing. Tanner Pearson, I guess the best way to describe him, he's a real good pro. He does things the right way on the ice, off the ice. He's been reliable. He had this last injury right now, but for the most part, since we traded for him, he plays all the games. He plays the game the right way. He's a good role model for our younger players, to show up, to do things the right way, to develop the right habits on a day-to-day basis. He's had real good chemistry with Bo. Travis can play him and Bo against any line in the league and feel comfortable that, that they can do the job against them. So I'm excited to get both guys signed, and they're both very important for our team here moving forward.
We'll go next to Patrick Johnston, Post Media.
Jim, just with your sort of cap situation now with the flat cap, you're probably going to have to make some budget decisions probably in the summer, I guess. What are you expecting to have to do? Are you going to have to make a trade? Would it, trading a big contract, someone like Nick Schmidt, would that be something you'd have to think about?
We've been dealing, with, this outbreak the last couple of weeks, where I don't foresee any cap problems this summer. We're all the teams are going to be living in a flat cap world for the next, upcoming seasons. It's a problem, for the whole league. So I don't think we'll be any different. I think we're in a good cap situation. We'll get our young players signed here that we need to get signed. And, we got some other young players that are going to be ready to come step in next year and play. So I don't think we'll have any cap issues.
Next up, we'll go to Farhan Lalji, TSN.
Jim, can you give us an update on any of your injured players? We've got Petey, you mentioned Pearson as well, along with any potential other guys you might be bringing in, whether it be from the AHL, from Utica, just anything to give you guys some added depth given the current circumstances.
Yeah, we're going to have a meeting later on. We're going to go over with John Sanderson, on the return to play policies of our guys that have tested positive for COVID. And we'll have a meeting later on today. I think we'll have the majority of our guys back when we start playing outside of 2 or 3 guys. And then from there, we'll have to decide, we got the trade deadline coming up. So we'll have to decide today if we're going to call up any more players, but we're going to go through that process later on today.
We'll go now to Jay Janauer, Global BC.
Jim, further to Farhan's question, because your lineup has been hit so hard by COVID, and when you have your meeting with John, is that going to dictate how many guys you may call up moving forward? And getting one more question in regards to the recovery, how much closer are guys to being healthy, and how long do you think it's going to take them to get up to speed?
Well, like we said earlier, the Dr. Bovar, John Sanderson, the NHL PA doctor, and the NHL doctor are going to have a conversation later today about that. The first step will be opening up our facility. And then, the players will all do physicals again. And then on Petey, on Pearson, once, our doctors see them again, we'll have a better timeline as to when they're going to be back. But, so these are things that are going to happen the next couple of days, and we'll have a better idea as to, who's going to be available to us. And if we need to call up more players, we'll do it, either later on today or tomorrow.
Next up is Ian McIntyre, Sportsnet.
Hi, Jim. Of course, when Petey first went out, the expectation was he was day to day, and then obviously a scan of some kind found more damage. How much concern do you have for his health? And is it possible either he or Jay Beagle will not play again this season?
Well, in talking to John Sanderson yesterday, Petey's got, updates like with his doctor. He's going to go see his doctor here the next few days, and we'll have a better idea as to when he's going to be back. I think the injury is getting better. And we'll just see where he's at after he sees the specialist, and then he'll make the determination when it's safe for him to get back on the ice, and then from there he'll have to have a couple practices and get up and going. He's been staying in good shape. I don't think he's that far away from playing, but it's getting the okay that his injury is healed and he's 100%, and then we'll go from there.
Next up is Thomas Durant with The Athletic.
Jim, do you have any update on contract talks with Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes, your two key second contract players? And was there any concern in agreeing to extensions with Demko and Pearson ahead of those, that it might be more complicated in terms of navigating that flat cap environment this summer?
Well, we've started preliminary talks with their agent, and getting into the process as we go forward here. We haven't started talking numbers and stuff yet, but we've, kind of talked about, what from their side, what they're looking at, and from our side as far as term is concerned. So, we started preliminary talks, but we'll get to that more now here in this next couple of weeks. And like I said, I don't really, in the past, I don't comment on how negotiations are going, but as soon as we're done the contracts, we'll be excited to let everybody know.
Next up is Gemma Carthen-Smith, The Canadian Press.
Hi, Jim. A couple of questions for you. The first one, how does the change in the quarantine rules impact your job heading into the trade deadline? Does it make things any easier for you or with the trade deadline at all?
Well, given what our team and the individual players have gone through this last couple of weeks, I don't expect us to be doing a whole lot at the deadline, but we still have a couple days to the deadlines here. We'll take calls and talk to other GMs and see if there's something out there that makes sense, and we'll follow through with it.
Next up is Jeff Patterson, The Athletic.
Jim, just getting back to Tanner Pearson for a sec. And I don't disagree with anything you said about, from what I've observed and what I hear, a consummate pro and low maintenance and everything else. And there's value to that, certainly. But ultimately, the game is played on the ice. He hasn't had a terribly productive season this year. And he's getting in that range around, he'll be 29 in the summer. What makes this the right bet for the organization that he has 3 productive seasons remaining in him? Like, what do you see in Tanner Pearson? And I know it goes beyond just goals and assists in terms of the value to the club, but, clearly the organization doesn't think that this is the start of a decline. So what have you seen in his season that gives you the hope that, there'll be value there for 3 years?
Well, I think, Jeff, this season, it's not been like other seasons where, we're playing every second night. It's been a compressed schedule. I think, playing the same 6 teams. So I think with him, once we get back, hopefully in the fall here, once we get back to playing all the teams and, a regular season, he's going to be as effective as he's always been. He's a guy that, he plays the right way. He's strong on the walls. He goes to the front of the net. Him and Bo have been really good together ever since, we acquired him. And, I know his production is down a little bit this year, but, next year when our things are back to normal again, I expect him to continue to have strong seasons for us for the next few years.
Okay, next up, we'll go to Jason Bruff, Sportsnet 650. Jason, do we have you there?
Yeah, you do. Jim, I know the expansion draft isn't for a few months, but just looking ahead to that, do you see that as an opportunity for the club to add some players, maybe go to some teams that can't protect players, and maybe there could be a fit with the Canucks?
Yeah, we've talked about that already. We're going to have, we're going to get some Colson signed, for next year. He'll be in the fold. Cole Lind, we want to get a good look at him, going forward here. But, I think, that's an avenue that we talked about. We're not going to have any expansion issues. So, if there's something that's available for us to add players to our group, we're going to look to do that.
Next up is Daniel Wagner. Vancouver is awesome.
Jim, you mentioned the flat cap that's coming up. What made prioritizing Pearson so important for you when the flat cap is coming up and there may be cheaper players available in free agency because of that cap situation?
Well, I think he's important to our group. Like he's a glue guy in our room. Like he's an experienced player that knows what it takes to win. The things we said about him, he's a good pro. Him and Bo have been real good together. I think we got him at a good deal. He's going to be making, his AV is going to be less than it was this year. I think, when we talked to the agent, we kind of, went through the process and decided that if he goes to free agency, that this number is probably the number he's going to get in free agency. And, I'm thankful that, he could have went that route. We could have moved him here at the deadline and, got some sort of a futures pick or player, but it's not going to, we'd miss him if he didn't re-sign with us because he's an important guy in our group. And, I think, as we go forward here, we're going to get younger and he's going to be good for, the young players to, as a role model and as a player that does the things the right day on a day-to-day basis. And so he was an important guy for us to get signed.
Next is Kevin Woodley, NHL.com.
Hey, Jim, you mentioned not expecting to be busy at the deadline given what your players have been through. I just wanted to sort of follow up on that and almost clarify a little bit. Is that just sort of the human side and not wanting to add to the burden they're already under? Or have you seen a change in interest in some of these players from the other teams, given the fact you've been through an outbreak here?
I think it's more the human side of things. They've dealt with a lot here the last couple of weeks, getting the virus themselves and, it running through families and stuff. And, I just don't think it's the right thing to do at this point in time. So that's more, I would say it's more on the human side of things.
Okay, we'll return now to Brendan Batchelor, Sportsnet 650.
Hi, Jim. Wondering if you have an update on any potential contract talks you've had with your coaching staff, Travis Green and his assistant coaches, and whether you expect to be able to extend them before the end of this season.
We haven't, there's nothing to report on that. Like I've said all along, our intention is to work with them to try to bring them back. But I got nothing to report on as of right now.
Okay, we'll go now to Ian McIntyre, Sportsnet.
You said you reiterated that the league's expectation is that you're going to play all 56 games. And when you look at the calendar, it just seems really hard to do that. If you don't start playing to the 19th, you're basically going to have 19 games in 23 to 26 days, which just doesn't seem possible. So how are you fearful of the schedule that you may be handed, or do you know things that we don't as far as how you're going to finish the season?
Well, I think, first of all, we don't know yet when we're going to start. So, I think the first order of business is for our players to get healthy, to open up our facilities for our players to start skating again. And then from there, when we do start playing games. The NHL will work closely with the NHL to try to, figure out a schedule. I would think probably that the end of the league schedule as it stands right now, could be changed, allowing more days, to get in our games. But, we've had a tough schedule here before we got shut down here. We played the most games out of any team in the league, and then we had the 6-day break, and then we've been dealing with the virus. So I don't think it's going to be any harder than it was, the first part of our schedule. But, with the travel and everything involved, it won't be easy.
And we'll take our last question here from Gemma Carsten-Smith, Canadian Press.
Hi, Jim. I'm wondering if, with everything that these guys have gone through, has anyone said that they're done for the season? They don't want to play anymore?
No, nobody's said that. Like we've been dealing with, our players first and foremost, their health and their, them getting better, feeling better. I know talking to players, they're worried about their families and stuff, and we'll get through all that. But these guys, they're competitive guys, and they want to get back playing again when they know that they're going to be safe, their families are going to be safe. So I haven't heard anybody as of right now that doesn't want to continue finishing off the season.
Okay, we're out of time, so we'll conclude today's availability there. We'd like to thank Jim Benning and Dr. Bovard again for joining us this morning, and thanks to all of you for being with us as well. Take care, everyone.